The great hall of Kepler Prime was silent. Jake Harrison sat at the small table marked with Earth's symbol. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species filled the massive chamber. Their seats rose up like steps in an ancient theater. At the center of it all stood the Draconian podium. Supreme Commander Vextar stepped forward. His scales caught the light as he moved. Each scale was as big as a human hand and darker than space itself. His eyes glowed red in the dim chamber. When he spoke, his voice echoed off the walls like thunder. "Members of the Galactic Council," Vextar began. His words dripped with pride. "Today marks the end of a joke that has gone on too long." Jake kept his face calm. He had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. In that time, he had learned to hide his feelings well. The aliens could not read human expressions anyway. To them, all humans looked the same. Vextar raised one massive claw. A hologram appeared above his head. It showed a small blue planet floating in black space. Earth looked tiny and alone. "This pathetic world has somehow convinced itself it belongs among civilized species," Vextar continued. "For too long, we have allowed these primitive apes to sit at our table. We have listened to their foolish words about peace and cooperation." Laughter filled the chamber. The Zilithians made high-pitched sounds that hurt human ears. The Corvin delegates clicked their mandibles together. Even the usually quiet hegemony representatives allowed themselves small chuckles. Jake did not move. He kept. His hands folded on the table in front of him. His wedding ring caught a small beam of light. He thought about his wife Sarah back on Earth. She would be sleeping now. It was night in their time zone. In the past year, the Draconian Empire has brought order to 12 star systems, Vextar announced. The hologram changed to show a map of local space. Red markers showed the conquered worlds. Each system now enjoys the benefits of proper leadership. No more chaos, no more weakness. The aliens nodded their approval. The Corvin representative, a bug-like creature named Thyses, spoke up. "The Empire brings stability," he said in his clicking voice. Something these humans could never understand. More laughter. Jake remembered his first day in this chamber. Back then, the mockery had stung. Now it felt like background noise. He had learned that aliens were much like humans in some ways. They laughed at what they did not understand. They feared what they could not control. Vextar gestured again. The hologram now showed massive ships, hundreds of them, then thousands. Each ship was the size of a city. Their hulls gleamed with weapons and armor. "Behold the Draconian fleet," Vextar roared. 3,000 vessels of war, each one capable of destroying a planet. Together, they are unstoppable. The chamber fell silent. Even the allies of the Draconians seemed impressed by the display. Jake had to admit it was quite a sight. He had seen the intelligence reports, but seeing the ships like this made their size real. "This fleet now moves toward the Sol system," Vextar continued. "In 72 hours, it will arrive at Earth. The humans will then face a simple choice." The Draconian commander turned to look directly at Jake. His red eyes seemed to burn in the dim light. "Surrender completely or be destroyed completely. There is no third option." Jake felt a small vibration in his pocket. His communication device was receiving a message. He did not check it yet. That would seem rude, and right now he needed to appear calm. Vextar was still talking. "The humans have no real military. Their ships are pieces of scrap metal held together with hope. Their weapons are toys compared to ours. They have never won a real war against anyone who could fight back." This brought more laughter from the crowd. The Zilithian delegate stood up. "Perhaps we should take bets," she said in her musical voice. "How long will Earth last? I say 6 hours at most." 4 hours, called out a Corvin voice. 2 hours, added someone else. Jake finally checked his message. It was from Admiral Lisa Chun aboard the ship New Horizon. The ship was in orbit around Kepler Prime right now. The message was short. Protocol 7 is active. Jake almost smiled. Almost. Instead, he kept the same calm expression he had worn all day. Vexstar raised his claws for silence. Enough, he rumbled. Ambassador Harrison, you have heard our terms. What does Earth say to this generous offer? Jake stood up slowly. The chamber went quiet again. All eyes turned to him. He was the smallest being in the room. His simple blue suit looked plain next to the elaborate costumes of the other delegates. But he did not feel small. Supreme Commander, Jake said in a clear voice, Earth appreciates the time you have given us to consider your offer. More alien laughter. They thought he was already giving up. However, Jake continued, such an important decision requires consultation with our government. I request additional time to present your terms to Earth's leadership. Vexstar's eyes narrowed. How much time do you need to say, we surrender, human? 48 hours should be sufficient, Jake replied. The Draconian commander threw back his head and laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass and grinding metal. 48 hours to delay the inevitable? Very well. I am feeling generous. Today, take your time, little human. Beg your leaders to save you. In the end, you will still kneel before the Empire. Jake bowed slightly. Thank you for your patience, Supreme Commander. Earth will give you our answer in 2 days. As Jake gathered his papers, he heard the aliens talking among themselves. They were already discussing how to divide Earth's resources. After the humans were gone, some wanted the water. Others wanted the mineral deposits. A few seemed interested in keeping some humans as pets or servants. Jake walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. Behind him, Vexstar was already talking about his next conquest. The Draconian Empire would not stop with Earth. There were always more worlds to take Dot at the door. Jake paused. He turned back to look at the assembled aliens one more time. They were so confident, so sure of their superiority. They had no idea what was coming. Jake smiled then. Just a small smile that no one else could see Dot in 48 hours. Everything would change. 3 days passed quickly. All across the galaxy, news stations prepared for the show. Camera ships positioned themselves at safe distances from Earth's solar system. Reporters spoke in excited voices about the coming battle. It would not really be a battle, they said. It would be an execution. The Zilithian News Network had their best team covering the story. In just hours, we expect to witness the complete destruction of the human homeworld, announced their lead reporter. Our military experts predict Earth will fall within minutes of the first attack. Betting pools opened on every civilized world. The odds were not about whether Earth would lose. Everyone knew that would happen. The bets were about how long it would take. Most aliens put their money on less than 1 hour. Admiral Chris Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Earth. Vessel Defender. Through the main window, he could see the other ships of Earth's defense fleet. 39 other vessels floated in formation around him. They looked small and simple compared to what was coming. Admiral, called out Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. From her station, long-range sensors are picking up movement at the edge of the system. Chris nodded. Here they come. All ships prepare for contact. The space around Earth's outer planets began to shimmer. Reality twisted and bent as massive ships pushed through from hyperspace. One by one, the Draconian fleet appeared. Each ship was a monster of metal and weapons. They blotted out the stars as they took their positions. 3,000 ships. Chris had known the number from the intelligence reports, but seeing them all together took his breath away. The smallest Draconian vessel was 3 times larger than his flagship. The largest were floating cities that could house millions. "Sir," Amy reported, "I'm reading weapon signatures on all enemy ships. They're already charging their main guns." "Steady," Chris replied. "Wait for orders." On Kepler Prime, Jake Harrison watched the same scene on a massive display screen. The Galactic Council had gathered to witness Earth's final moments. Most of the alien delegates seemed excited. A few looked almost sad, but not many. Supreme Commander Vexstar stood at the center of the chamber. His image was being broadcast live from his command ship. Behind him, Draconian officers worked at control stations that looked like works of art compared to human technology. "Citizens of the galaxy," Vexstar announced, "today you will see the price of defying the Empire. Watch as we end the human experiment. Forever." The camera feeds showed both fleets clearly now. The contrast was shocking. The Draconian ships gleamed with smooth armor and elegant weapon arrays. They moved in perfect formation, like dancers in space. Energy shields flickered around, their hulls in beautiful patterns of light. Earth's ships looked like they had been built in someone's garage. Their hulls were rough metal welded together in simple shapes. Weapon ports looked like they had been cut with basic tools. No shields protected them. They seemed to barely hold together as they drifted through space. "Look at those pathetic humans," laughed the Corvin delegate. "Their ships are already falling apart, and the fight has not even started." "I almost feel sorry for them," added a hegemony representative. "They have no idea what is about to happen." On his command ship, Vexstar opened a communication channel to the human fleet. His face appeared on screens throughout both armadas and across the galaxy. "Admiral Martinez," Vexstar said. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. "I offer you one final chance. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make sure you suffer." Chris appeared on the return channel. He looked calm in his simple blue uniform. No fancy decorations or colorful ribbons decorated his chest. Just a small name tag and Earth's flag on his shoulder. "Commander." "Vexstar," Chris replied. "Earth's answer has not changed. We will not surrender." The aliens watching gasped. Even now, facing certain death, the humans refused to give up. It seemed impossible. No species could be that stupid, could they? Vexstar's eyes glowed brighter with anger. "Then you have chosen extinction. Do not expect mercy for your foolishness." "We do not expect mercy," Chris said quietly. "We never have." The channel closed. Across the galaxy, beings held their breath. The moment had finally come. Vexstar turned to his weapons officer. "Begin the attack. Target their command ship first. I want Admiral Martinez to watch his fleet die before we finish him." "Yes, Supreme Commander," the officer replied. His claws moved across his control panel. "All ships report ready to fire." "Fire when ready," Vexstar commanded. But before the Draconian weapons could charge fully, Chris gave his own order. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke into his communicator. "All ships, this is Admiral Martinez. Begin Phase 1. The human ships did not move to attack. They did not raise shields or turn to run. They simply stopped where they were. 40 ships floating motionless in space, waiting. What are they doing? Asked the Zilithian reporter. Why are they not fighting back? On Kepler Prime, Jake watched with the same calm expression he had worn for 3 days. Several alien delegates turned to stare at him. "Ambassador Harrison," called out the Corvin representative, "your ships appear to be malfunctioning. They are not even trying to defend themselves." Jake smiled slightly. "They are doing exactly what they are supposed to do." The Draconian fleet continued its advance. Their weapons were almost ready to fire. Victory seemed certain. The galaxy watched and waited for the final moment, but something was wrong. The camera operators noticed it first. The Draconian ships were still moving forward, but no more communications came from them. The command channel had gone silent. Vextar's image flickered and disappeared from the screens. His officers stopped working at their stations. One by one, the beautiful Draconian ships began to drift. "What is happening?" demanded the Zilithian delegate. "Why have they stopped talking?" Jake turned to face the assembled aliens. His calm smile had grown wider. "Phase 1 is complete," he said simply. In space, 3,000 Draconian warships floated silent and dark. Their weapons powered down. Their engines went cold. And somewhere in that vast fleet, no one answered when the galaxy tried to call. The silence stretched across space like a disease. Minutes passed, then an hour. The Draconian fleet continued moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Their engines still glowed. Their hulls still gleamed in the starlight. But no voices came. From inside the ships, Captain Amy Rodriguez stared at her sensor display aboard the Earth vessel Liberty. The readings made no sense. She checked them again, then a third time. The numbers did not change. "Admiral Martinez," she called on the communication channel. "Sir, I need to report something strange." Chris Martinez appeared on her screen. Behind him, his bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They seemed calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. "Go ahead, Captain Rodriguez," Chris said. "Sir, all Draconian ships are showing normal external readings. Engines active, hull integrity intact, weapons systems operational. But ... double." Amy paused. She had never seen anything like this before. "Sir, I am reading 0 life signs from the entire fleet." The words hung in space between them. 0 life signs. 3,000 ships. Millions of crew members. All gone. "Confirmed, Captain," Chris replied. "Continue monitoring and report any changes." The channel closed. Amy stared at her screens. How could this be possible? The ships looked perfectly normal. From the outside, nothing had attacked them. No weapons had been fired. No explosions had occurred. The crews had simply stopped living. On Kepler Prime, panic was spreading through the Galactic Council chamber. The alien delegates had heard Amy's report. There, universal translators made sure everyone understood the impossible words. 0 life signs? Demanded the Zilithian representative. Her musical voice had turned sharp with fear. That cannot be correct. Run the scans again. Technical teams from a dozen species worked frantically at their equipment. They all reached the same conclusion. The Draconian ships were flying tombs. Commander Thizes of the Corvin Syndicate stood up on his 6 legs. His mandibles clicked rapidly. As he spoke, what weapon could do this? How do you kill crews without damaging ships? All eyes turned to Jake Harrison. He sat quietly at his small table, watching the chaos around him with the same calm expression he had worn for days. "Ambassador Harrison," called out the hegemony delegate, "your species must answer for this. What did you do to the Draconian fleet?" Jake stood slowly. The chamber fell silent as he prepared to speak. Even the news cameras focused on him. Across the galaxy, billions of beings waited for his words. Earth warned the Draconian Empire to reconsider their position, Jake said in a quiet voice. They chose to ignore that warning. The consequences of their choice are not our responsibility. That is not an answer, shouted the Zilithian delegate. Tell us what weapon you used. We used no weapon, Jake replied. The chamber erupted in. Angry voices. Delegates demanded explanations. Some called for Earth to be arrested for war crimes. Others wanted the human fleet to be destroyed immediately before they could kill anyone else. Through it all, Jake remained calm. He had learned long ago that fear made people say foolish things. Right now, the galaxy was very afraid. The news. Reports were already spreading panic across civilized space. The Zilithian news network showed the same images over and over. Thousands of massive warships drifting silently through space. No distress calls, no emergency signals. Just silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced the lead reporter, "we are witnessing something that should be impossible. The most powerful military force in the galaxy has been neutralized without a single shot being fired. The implications are terrifying." Back in the Sol system, Admiral Martinez received reports from his other captains. Every human ship reported the same thing. The Draconian fleet was completely dead, but their vessels remained intact. Lieutenant Rodriguez worked at her station, trying to understand what had happened. Her sensors could detect the smallest signs of life from enormous distances. They could find a single bacteria on a dead moon. But the Draconian ships showed nothing, not even bacteria. Every living thing aboard those vessels had simply stopped existing. "Captain," called out her communications officer, "I am receiving strange readings from the enemy ships." "What kind of readings?" Amy asked. "Audio signals, ma'am? Very faint." "It sounds like ... double quotes." The young officer paused, looking confused. "It sounds like screaming, but the screams stopped days ago, like echoes of something that already happened." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. Echoes of screaming from empty ships. What could have terrified the Draconians so badly that their fears still bounced around inside their vessels? On Kepler Prime, emergency sessions began immediately. Representatives from major powers demanded answers. The Corvin Syndicate wanted to send investigation teams to examine the Draconian ships. The hegemony called for a quarantine of the entire Sol system until the mystery could be solved. Jake listened to their demands with growing amusement. These aliens thought they were so advanced. They believed their technology and weapons made them superior to humanity. But they had no idea what they were really dealing with. The Zilithian delegate approached Jake's table. Her scales shimmered with stress patterns that showed her fear. "Ambassador, please. You must tell us how this was done. If humans have developed some new weapon, the galaxy has a right to know." Jake looked up at her. For just a moment, his calm mask slipped. The alien delegate saw something in his eyes that made her step backward, something old and dangerous and not quite human. "You keep calling it a weapon," Jake said softly. "What if it was not a weapon at all? What if we simply removed something that was protecting them?" Before the Zilithian could ask what he meant, urgent alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency broadcasts flooded every screen in the chamber. The Draconian home fleet, responding to the silence from their attack force, had just arrived at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 more ships, ready for war. They demanded to know what had happened to their missing vessels. Admiral Martinez's voice came through the speakers clearly. His response was simple and terrifying. "Unknown vessels, you are ordered to leave this system immediately. We will not warn you twice." The second Draconian fleet began moving toward Earth. Their commanders were angry and wanted revenge for their missing comrades. Smiled as he watched the new ships approach. Phase 1 had worked perfectly. Now it was time to see if the galaxy was ready for Phase 2. The second Draconian fleet stopped just outside weapon range. Their commander, Admiral Krextos, was Vextar's younger brother. He demanded answers about his missing ships. When Admiral Martinez warned him to leave, Krextos laughed with the same arrogance his brother had shown. But then something strange happened. As the second fleet moved closer to Earth, their crews began reporting disturbing sensations. Headaches, nightmares while awake, voices that whispered in empty corridors. Within 6 hours, Krextos ordered his ships to retreat to a safe distance. "We will return with reinforcements," he promised over the communication channels. "The Empire does not forget. But for now, The immediate threat was over. This gave the Galactic Council time to investigate what had happened to the First Fleet. The science vessel, Quantum Truth, arrived in the Sol system 3 days later. Dr. Ben Thompson, a human researcher who had been studying alien cultures on Kepler Prime, volunteered to join the investigation team. The alien scientists were not happy about this, but they needed all the help they could get. Dr. Thompson was a quiet man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent 10 years living among alien species, learning their ways and customs. The other researchers tolerated him because he asked good questions and never got in their way. The team approached one of the smaller Draconian ships first. The vessel was called the Night Hunter, and it had carried a crew of 500 soldiers. From the outside, everything looked normal. The hull showed no damage. The engines were still warm. Weapon systems remained powered and ready. Dr. Zixara, the Zilithian team leader, connected her ship to the Draconian airlock. "Remember," she told the investigation team, "we do not know what killed these crews. Stay alert for any signs of danger." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The team stepped inside wearing full protective gear. Their scanners showed normal. Atmosphere, normal temperature, normal everything. Except for the complete absence of life. They found the first body in the corridor leading to the bridge. It was a Draconian soldier, still wearing his armor. His weapons remained in their holsters. He had simply fallen where he stood and never gotten back up. Dr. Thompson knelt beside the body. His medical scanner showed no signs of injury, no trace of poison, no evidence of disease. "It looks like he just stopped living," Ben said quietly. "That is impossible," replied Dr. Fix, the Corvin scientist. "Nothing just stops living. There must be a cause." They found more bodies as they moved through the ship. Hundreds of them. All had died in the same mysterious way. Some were at their duty stations. Others were in their quarters or the mess hall. A few had been walking down corridors when death took them. The most disturbing discovery came when they reached the bridge. The ship's captain lay slumped over his command chair. His claws were extended, as if he had been trying to scratch at something that was not there. The expression on his face was one of pure terror. "Look at this," called Dr. Zixara from the communications station. The ship's log recorded everything until the moment the crew died. She played the final recording. The captain's voice came through the speakers, but it sounded different from normal Draconian speech. It was filled with fear and confusion. Personal. Log, Captain Vorth recording. "Something is wrong with my crew. They keep seeing things that are not there. Faces in the walls, voices calling their names. Some of them are crying like younglings. Others stare at empty spaces and whisper apologies to people who are not there." The recording continued. "I can feel it too now, the thing that watches us. It knows everything we have done. Every world we burned, every city we destroyed, every innocent we killed. It shows us their faces. It makes us remember." Then came sounds of chaos, screaming, running footsteps. And underneath it all, something else. A presence that seemed to press against the microphone like a living shadow. The captain's final words were barely a whisper. "It's not killing us. It's making us kill ourselves. The guilt, the shame, ... I cannot. I cannot." The recording ended. The investigation team stood in silent horror. Dr. Fix's mandibles clicked nervously. What could make an entire crew experience shared hallucinations? They were not hallucinations, Dr. Thompson said quietly. The aliens turned to stare at him. They were memories. Real memories of real victims. "How can you know that?" Demanded Dr. Zixara. Ben looked at the dead captain with sad eyes. "Because I recognize the symptoms. This is what happens when someone is forced to truly see the consequences of their actions. when they can no longer hide from the truth of what they have done. Dr. Thix moved closer to Ben. You speak as if you had seen this before. In a way. I have, Ben replied. Humans call it conscience. The ability to feel guilt and shame for our wrong actions. It is supposed to prevent us from doing evil things. But when that feeling becomes too strong, too focused, he trailed off, looking around the bridge at all the dead Draconians. Are you saying, Dr. Zixara asked slowly, that the human fleet somehow weaponized guilt? Ben shook his head. Not weaponized. More like ... unleashed. You see, every thinking species has the capacity for conscience. But most learn to suppress it when convenient. The Draconians were very good at ignoring their guilt about the worlds they conquered. The alien scientists exchanged worried glances. This human was saying something that sounded impossible. But what if, Ben continued, something forced them to stop suppressing those feelings? What if every terrible thing they had ever done suddenly became real to them again? What if they could see and hear every victim they had ever harmed? Dr. Thix backed away from Ben. That would require some kind of psychic ability. Humans do not have psychic powers. Ben looked at him with those kind, sad eyes. Dr. Thix, may I ask you a question? In all your studies of human behavior, have you ever wondered why we are the only species that shows genuine remorse for our mistakes? Why we are the only ones who build monuments to our victims instead of our victories? The Corvin scientist had no answer. We should examine more ships, Dr. Zixara said, trying to change the subject. But her voice shook as she spoke. They visited 5 more vessels. The pattern was always the same. Crews dead without injury, their faces showing expressions of absolute terror and shame. Ship logs telling stories of guilt and regret overwhelming. Trained soldiers until they could no longer bear to live. On the 6th ship, they found something that made even Dr. Thompson pause. Scratched into the metal wall of the captain's quarters were words in the Draconian language. The message was simple but chilling. They know what we did. They remember everything. The humans remember everything. Dr. Zixara read the words aloud, then turned to Ben. Dr. Thompson, what exactly are humans? Ben was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. We are the species that remembers, Dr. Zixara. We remember every kindness and every cruelty. We remember those who help us and those who harm us. And sometimes, when we are threatened with extinction, we share those memories with others. The investigation team returned to their ship in silence. None of them spoke during the journey back. To Kepler Prime, they had found their answers, but those answers raised questions that were far more terrifying than the original mystery. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at dawn on Kepler Prime. Every major species had sent their highest representatives. The chamber was packed with beings who had traveled across the galaxy to hear the truth about what happened. To the Draconian fleet, Jake Harrison sat at his small table as always. But today, he was not alone. Admiral Chris Martinez had arrived from the Sol system. Captain Amy Rodriguez stood beside him. And next to them was a woman the aliens had never seen before. Her name was Susan Walker, and she wore the simple uniform of Earth's scientific corps. She carried a small device that looked like a briefcase, and she set it carefully on the table. In front of her, Supreme Commander Vikstar's brother, Krextos, had also come to Kepler Prime. His face showed the grief and rage of someone who had lost family. When he spoke, his voice shook with emotion. The humans must answer for what they did to my brother's fleet, he demanded. 5 million Draconian souls are dead. We demand justice. The chamber erupted in agreement. Delegates from dozens of species called for Earth to be punished. Some wanted humanity destroyed completely. Others suggested that humans should be locked away on their home planet Forever. Jake stood up slowly. The noise died down as all eyes focused on him. He looked around the chamber at all the frightened, angry faces staring back at him. "You want the truth," Jake said in his calm voice. "Very well. But I warn you now that the truth will change everything. You think you know about my species." He gestured to Susan Walker. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a small metal cylinder. It was about the size of a water bottle, but it hummed with quiet energy. "This," Susan said, "is what we call a morality engine. Every human ship carries dozens of them. Every human settlement has hundreds. There are millions of these devices on Earth itself." The alien delegates leaned forward to get a better look. The device seemed ordinary enough. Just a simple metal tube with some blinking lights. "What does it do?" asked Dr. Zix Ara, who had returned from investigating the dead Draconian ships. Susan looked at Jake. He nodded for her to continue. "It suppresses certain natural abilities that humans are born with," Susan explained. "For thousands of years, we have used these devices to control our own nature, to make ourselves safer for others to be around." "What abilities?" demanded the Corvin representative. Jake stepped forward. "We are psychic predators," he said simply. The chamber fell silent. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "Impossible," whispered the hegemony delegate. "Humans show no psychic abilities. Our tests prove this." "Your tests only work when we allow them to work," Jake replied. "Every human child learns to hide their abilities before they can walk. We have been doing this for so long that most of us forget we have these powers at all." Admiral Martinez spoke for the first time. "Every species develops along different evolutionary paths. Some become physically strong. Others become technologically advanced. Humans became hunters of minds." Susan activated a control on her device. The morality engine's humming grew louder. "These machines create a field that dampens psychic activity," she explained. "They make it harder for humans to access their natural abilities. We invented them because we wanted to live in peace with other species." "You are saying," the Zilithian delegate said slowly, "that humans have been deliberately making themselves weaker?" "Not weaker," Jake corrected. "Safer. Our ancestors learned that unlimited psychic ability led to terrible cruelty. So we chose to limit ourselves. We built a civilization based on controlling our own power instead of using it." Dr. Thompson, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "This explains what happened to the Draconian crews. When faced with extinction, the human fleet temporarily shut down their morality engines." The alien delegates stared at him in horror. "For a few hours," Dr. Thompson continued, 40 human crews became what their species used to be, perfect psychic hunters. The Draconian minds, focused on conquest and cruelty, became easy prey." Susan held up her device. "The moment Phase 1 was complete, we reactivated our suppression fields. The humans returned to normal, but the damage to the Draconian fleet was already done." Crexto stood up, his massive frame shaking with rage and fear. "You are saying your people are monsters who pretend to be civilized?" Jake looked at him with sad eyes. "No, Commander. We are a species that chose civilization over our natural instincts. We could have conquered the galaxy long ago if we wanted to. Instead, we built machines to suppress our own power because we believe peace is better than dominance. But when threatened with extinction," Admiral Martinez added, "we will defend ourselves. And our methods of defense are not something any species wants to face." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Some delegates demanded that humanity be destroyed immediately. Others wanted all humans to be tested for psychic abilities. A few suggested that Earth should be quarantined until better suppression methods could be developed. Jake raised his hand for silence. Somehow his gesture carried. more authority than all the shouting aliens combined. "The choice is yours," he said quietly. "Earth has no desire for conquest or empire. We will continue using our morality engines as long as we are allowed to live in peace. But if any species threatens our survival again—" He gestured toward the main display screen. It showed images of the empty Draconian ships still floating in Earth's solar system. "Remember the fate of the First Fleet," Jake concluded. "We tried to warn them. They chose not to listen." Susan closed her briefcase and stood up. "One more thing," she said. "The morality engines only suppress active psychic abilities. They do not eliminate our memories. Humans remember every kindness shown to us. We also remember every cruelty." She looked directly at Crextos. "Your brother's fleet died because they could not handle the guilt of their actions when that guilt was forced upon them. We did not kill them. Their own consciences did." The Galactic Council session ended in chaos. Emergency broadcasts went out across civilized space. The news that humanity was not the weakest species, but potentially the strongest, changed everything. Some species immediately began peace negotiations with Earth. Others recalled their fleets from anywhere near human space. A few brave civilizations offered to help humanity improve their suppression technology, but everyone remembered the lesson of the Draconian fleet. The empty ships floating around Earth became a permanent reminder visible to all who visited the system. Never mistake human restraint for human weakness. The humans had chosen to be peaceful, but they had not chosen to be helpless, and the galaxy would never forget the difference.
The most feared assassin in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, Zixthul, sat in his private chamber aboard his stealth ship. The room was dark except for the blue glow of star charts floating in the air. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he reviewed the new contract that had just arrived. The payment offered was the highest he had seen in his 300 cycles of life. Such an amount meant the job was either extremely difficult or highly illegal. Perhaps both. Zixthul's thin fingers tapped the floating screen to open the target details. A face appeared, a human male with short brown hair and a serious expression. The name below read, Alan Carter, Earth Diplomat. A human? Zixthul muttered to himself. His thin lips pulled back in what passed for a smile among his species. This will be simple. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community. They had achieved faster-than-light travel less than a century ago. Most species viewed them with curiosity rather than respect. Their home planet was classified as a death world, Class 12, but many believed this was an exaggeration. The contract came from Counselor Vexmar of the Hegemony, one of the oldest powers in the Galactic Confederacy. The message attached was clear. The human delegation must not be allowed to present their case for full membership at the upcoming council meeting. The Hegemony had controlled the rare metals trade for thousands of years. Earth was rich in these resources. If humans gained full trading rights, the Hegemony would lose its monopoly. Zixthul cared nothing for politics. Credits were credits, and this job would earn him enough to retire to a pleasure world if he wished. He sent messages to 3 of his most trusted team members. Each had worked with him for decades. Each was the best at what they did. Within hours, they arrived at his ship, which floated hidden in the shadow of New Arcturus's largest moon. Dracon arrived first. The tall, thin alien had skin that changed color to match his surroundings. He was a master of poisons who could create toxins that left no trace. He had killed targets from 50 different species without fail. A human target? Dracon asked as he studied the file. I will need to research their biology. I have never poisoned a human before. Next came Lithia. Her black eyes showed no reflection, seeming to absorb all light. She moved without sound, her 6-jointed legs allowing her to walk on walls and ceilings with ease. She was known as the Shadow Walker among assassins. Their security measures? She asked in her whisper-soft voice. Standard Confederacy protocols for the Stellar Embassy, Zixthul answered. Nothing we haven't beaten before. Last to arrive was Quor, The bug-like alien's head was twice the size of his body, filled with a brain capable of hacking any computer system. His thin arms ended in manipulators that could interface with any technology. Their planet is classified as a death world, Quor noted, his mandibles clicking together nervously. Should we be concerned? Zixthul waved a dismissive hand. Propaganda. Their gravity is slightly higher than standard. Their atmosphere has more oxygen, nothing we haven't adapted to before. He brought up the holographic image of the stellar embassy, where the Earth delegation would stay. The building was supposed to be one of the most secure in the galaxy, but Zixthul had infiltrated better. The human delegation arrives tomorrow, he told his team. 3 members only: Alan Carter, lead diplomat, Dr. Samantha Reed, xenobiologist, and Jack Murphy, security. Only one security? Lithia asked, her head tilting in surprise. They are new to the galactic stage, Zixthul explained. They do not yet understand the dangers. This will make our job easier. For the next several hours, they planned their approach. Quor would hack the embassy's security systems. Lithia would enter the building through the ventilation system. Dracon would prepare a toxin that would kill all 3 humans but appear as a natural reaction to the alien environment. Zixthul would oversee everything from their ship. We strike tomorrow night after the opening ceremonies, Zixthul decided. The targets will be tired. Their guard will be down. As his team prepared, Zixthul reviewed what little information existed about humans. Their planet had large oceans, vast forests, and extreme temperature variations. They were omnivores with surprising endurance. Nothing that concerned him. The next day, Zixthul watched the arrival ceremony from a hidden location near the embassy. The human delegation stepped off their ship, blinking in the bright light of New Arcturus's twin suns. Alan Carter walked in front, a man of average height with a confident stride. He smiled and waved at the gathered diplomats from 100 worlds. Dr. Reed followed, her eyes wide as she took in the alien architecture. She carried scanning equipment and seemed more interested in the building than the ceremony. Last came Jack Murphy. Unlike the others, he did not smile. His eyes never stopped, moving, scanning the crowd, the buildings, the sky. He walked with the careful steps of a predator, though few would recognize this posture among the varied forms of alien life present. Zixthul felt a small chill run down his spine as Murphy's gaze passed over his hiding spot. Impossible. No one could see through his cloaking technology. The security one, Lithia's voice came through his communicator. He moves differently. All species move differently, Zixthul replied, dismissing his moment of concern. Focus on the plan. As darkness fell over New Arcturus, the team moved into position. Quor connected to the embassy's computer systems from a nearby building. Lithia scaled the outer wall, invisible in the shadows. Dracon prepared his special toxins in a hidden lab. Security systems identified, Quor reported, his voice excited. Standard Confederacy protocols with some modifications. I can bypass them in 20 minutes. Proceed, Zixthul ordered. He watched through Lithia's camera feed as she found an entry point on the roof. Everything was going according to plan. This job would be completed before the night was over. Then Quor's voice came through again, but different now, confused, almost afraid. Their personal devices. They're strange, he said, mandibles clicking rapidly. The security is... I've never seen anything like it. Primitive in some ways, yet unpredictably advanced in others. Just get it done, Zixthul ordered, feeling the first touch of uncertainty. I'm inside, Lithia reported, moving toward the human quarters. Zixthul watched through her feed as she crawled silently through ventilation shafts. She reached the first room, Carter's quarters, and peered through the grate. The room was empty. Target 1 not in his quarters, she reported. Check the other rooms, Zixthul ordered. Before she could move, alarms blared throughout the embassy. Lights flashed, security doors slammed shut. What happened? Zixthul demanded. Quor. It wasn't me, Quor's panicked voice replied. I didn't trigger any alarms. Then through Lithia's feed, Zixthul heard something that made his blood run cold. Laughter. human laughter coming from somewhere in the darkness. "Welcome to New Arcturus," a voice said, Alan Carter's voice. "We've been expecting you." Zixthul stared at the screen in disbelief. How had the humans known they were coming? He had planned this mission perfectly. No one knew about the contract except his team and Counselor Vexmar. "Lithia, get out of there now," he ordered through the comm. "The ventilation shaft is sealed." Lithia's voice was calm, but Zixthul could hear the fear beneath her words. "Something has blocked it from both sides. Core, override the security systems. Open an escape route." "I'm trying." Core's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. "But their systems are fighting back. It's like they're changing as I work." This was not how missions went for Zixthul. In 300 cycles, he had never failed. He had killed targets in the most secure places in the galaxy. How could these humans new to space travel have outmaneuvered him? "Dracon, status?" Zixthul called. There was no answer. "Dracon, report." The comm crackled, and finally Dracon's voice came through. He was breathing hard. "The security human found me," he said. "I don't know how. I was cloaked. I used the nerve toxin on him, enough to kill a Tauran bull. But he just pulled the dart out and smiled at me." "Where are you now?" Zixthul asked. "Running. He's following. He's faster than he should be. Much faster." Zixthul heard a crash through Dracon's comm, then a grunt of pain. "Got nowhere to go now, friend," said a new voice. The human, Murphy. His tone was almost friendly, but with an edge that sent chills through Zixthul's spine. "How?" Dracon gasped. "The toxin should have stopped your heart." "Yeah, about that," Murphy said. "Where I grew up, we call something similar to that coffee. Kids drink it for breakfast." The comm went silent. Zixthul's mind raced. He needed to salvage this mission. He needed to help his team. But most of all, he needed to understand what was happening. "Core, forget the systems. Get out of there and back to the ship." "I can't," Core replied. "There's someone outside the room. The female human, Reed. She's just standing there, watching the door. She has some kind of device. It's interfering with my tech." Zixthul watched through Core's camera feed. Dr. Reed stood in the hallway looking directly at the hidden camera. She smiled and waved. "I know you can see me," she said. "Your biosigns indicate you're hiding in the maintenance closet. The walls are quite thin, you know. I can hear your breathing." Core's feed suddenly tilted as the tech specialist scrambled to find another exit. "There's a passage behind the power conduits," he muttered to himself. "If I can just reach it." The wall beside him exploded inward. Dr. Reed stood in the new opening, still smiling pleasantly. "That would have taken you to a dead end anyway," she said. "Now, let's talk about who sent you." Core's feed went dark. "Lithia, can you move at all?" Zixthul asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "The human Carter is in the ventilation system with me," she replied quietly. "He's just sitting there a few meters away, looking at me. Use your shadow step. Get past him." I tried. He can see me, even when I blend with the shadows. He's not using his eyes. I don't know how he's tracking me." "Hello there," said Carter's voice through Lithia's comm. "I think it's time we had a proper conversation, don't you? Your friends are waiting for us in the conference room." Zixthul made a decision. The mission was compromised. His team was captured. He needed to leave now, report to Vexmar, and prepare a new strategy. He powered up his ship's engines. The stealth systems would keep him hidden until he reached orbit. Then he could jump to hyperspace and escape. The engines whined, then died. "What?" Zixthul hissed, checking the systems. Everything showed green, but nothing responded. A new message appeared on his screen. It showed Carter's face, smiling politely. "Going somewhere?" the human asked. "I'm afraid we disabled your ship remotely. Very interesting technology, by the way. Our engineers are quite impressed." "Impossible," Zixthul whispered. His ship had the best security in the galaxy. No one could hack it remotely. "You should join your team," Carter continued. "We have much to discuss, especially about Counselor Vexmar." The screen went blank. Zixthul sat in the darkness of his ship, feeling something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. He had backup plans, of course. Emergency protocols. There was a small escape pod hidden in the ship's belly. Its presence didn't show up on any schematics. Not even his team knew about it. Zixthul moved quickly to the hidden panel in the floor, pressed the sequence that would open it, and dropped down into the tiny pod. He input the emergency launch code and felt the satisfying rumble as the pod detached from the main ship. The pod shot away, its course set for a remote outpost where Zixthul kept supplies and false identities. He would recover, plan, and return with a proper understanding of what these humans truly were. As the pod reached the edge of the moon's shadow, preparing to accelerate to full speed, all systems suddenly shut down. The pod drifted, dead in space. The comm system, however, came to life. "Did you really think we wouldn't find your escape pod?" It was Murphy's voice now. The heat signature was obvious. "You know, for someone from a species with advanced technology, you don't seem to understand basic thermodynamics." Zixthul felt the pod shudder as something attached to its hull. The airlock hissed as it was forced open from the outside. Light flooded in, blinding Zixthul momentarily. When his vision cleared, Jack Murphy stood in the doorway of the pod. The human's face showed no anger, no triumph, just mild interest. "Alan wants to talk to you," Murphy said, extending a hand. "And trust me, you'd rather talk to him than deal with me." Zixthul looked at the human's hand, then at his face. There was something in those eyes, something ancient and dangerous, that told Zixthul all he needed to know about Deathworlders. For the first time in his long career, the galaxy's greatest assassin surrendered. Zixthul sat in a comfortable chair in the Stellar Embassy's conference room. This was not what he had expected. In his experience, captured assassins were usually bound, tortured, or already dead. Instead, the humans had given him and his team water and food suited to their various species. His teammates looked as confused as he felt. Dracon's color had shifted to a nervous yellow-green. Lithia sat perfectly still, her black eyes watching every move the humans made. Quar's large head drooped into feet, mandibles clicking softly. Alan Carter entered the room, followed by Dr. Reed and Murphy. Carter sat across from Zixthul while the others remained standing. "I believe we should have an honest conversation," Carter said. His voice was calm and friendly. "You were hired to kill us. We'd like to know why." Zixthul remained silent. In 300 cycles as an assassin, he had never betrayed a client. "Your loyalty is admirable," Carter continued. "But Counselor Vexmar has already left New Arcturus. He abandoned you the moment he learned we had captured your team." Zixthul's eyes widened slightly. "You have no proof of that." Carter nodded to Dr. Reed, who placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram showing Vexmar's personal ship leaving the planet. The timestamp showed it had departed just 1 hour ago. "How did you know we were coming?" Lithia asked, breaking her silence. Murphy laughed. "You announced yourselves the moment you entered the system." "Impossible," Quor protested. "Our ship has the best stealth technology in the galaxy." "Perhaps by your standards," Dr. Reed said. "But you're hiding in the wrong spectrum. Your ship masks energy signatures and visual detection perfectly, but you leak gravitational distortions that our sensors picked up immediately. No species has gravitational detection that sensitive," Zixthul argued. "We developed it to track predators on Earth that hide using camouflage," Reed explained. "Many animals on our planet can blend perfectly with their surroundings. We had to learn to detect what cannot be seen." Zixthul processed this information. It contradicted everything he thought he knew about humans. They were supposed to be newcomers, their technology basic compared to the older species of the Confederacy. "Why did my poison not affect you?" Dracon asked Murphy, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Murphy smiled. "Earth is home to some of the deadliest toxins in the galaxy. Our bodies evolved to process and neutralize poisons. What would kill most species gives humans a mild headache at worst." "And my shadow walking?" Lithia asked. "Humans evolved as pursuit predators," Carter explained. "We can track prey through the slightest disturbances in air. The faintest footprints even changes in temperature. Your shadow walking is impressive, but it still disrupts the environment in ways our brains are wired to notice. Zixthul was beginning to understand. The Death World classification, it's not just about the planet's conditions. No, Reed confirmed. It's about what those conditions produce. Earth has over 50 million species, all competing, all evolving to survive. Humans had to outsmart all of them to become the dominant species. Our planet's gravity creates stronger bones and muscles, Carter added. Our oxygen-rich atmosphere gives us more endurance. Our varied climates taught us to adapt quickly, but most importantly, we evolved to solve problems and overcome threats. Murphy stepped forward. Which brings us back to Counselor Vexmar. He hired you because Earth's entry into the Confederacy threatens the hegemony's control of the rare metals market. How did you know that? Zixthul asked, surprised. Because we've heard the same concerns from 6 other hegemony representatives, Carter said. Most chose diplomatic channels to express their worries. Vexmar chose assassination. Zixthul realized he had been used as a pawn in a larger game. Vexmar had never expected the assassination to succeed. He had merely wanted to create an incident that would delay Earth's membership vote. What happens to us now? Quor asked, his voice small. Carter leaned back in his chair. That depends on you. By Confederacy law, attempted assassination carries a death sentence. But Earth has different traditions. Reed stepped forward. On our world, we believe in second chances. Even our justice system focuses on rehabilitation over punishment when possible. You would just let us go? Dracon asked, disbelieving. Not exactly, Murphy said. We have a proposition. Carter nodded. The Confederacy's security protocols are clearly inadequate if professionals like you can bypass them so easily. We want to establish a new security standard for diplomatic relations. And you want us to help? Zixthul was stunned. Who better than the galaxy's best infiltration team? Carter smiled. Your skills are impressive. We'd rather have them working for us than against us. Zixthul looked at his team members. Each had spent decades perfecting their deadly crafts. The idea of using those skills to protect rather than kill was strange, yet somehow appealing. And if we refuse? He asked. Then, you will be turned over to Confederacy justice, Carter said simply. We'll testify that you were following orders from Vexmar, which might reduce your sentence. But we cannot intervene in the Confederacy's legal process if you choose that path. The room fell silent as the assassins considered their options. Zixthul had never imagined his career ending like this. He had expected to die on a job someday, or retire wealthy after a few more decades, not to be captured by a species he had underestimated so completely. Why would you trust us? Lithia finally asked. We tried to kill you. Trust must begin somewhere, Carter replied. On Earth, many of our greatest allies were once our enemies. We've learned that people can change when given the right opportunity. Murphy crossed his arms. Besides, we'll be watching you closely. The way he said it sent a chill down Zixthul's spine. He had no doubt that these humans, these Deathworlders, could find him anywhere in the galaxy if they wanted to. What about Vexmar? Quor asked. He will not be pleased if we work with you. Leave Vexmar to us, Carter said. The evidence of his plot will be presented to the full council tomorrow. His political career is over. Zixthul looked at each of his team members. Slowly, they all nodded. We accept your offer, Zixthul told Carter. The human smiled and extended his hand across the table. Zixthul hesitated, then reached out to shake, it copying the human gesture he had seen in his research. Welcome to Earth's Diplomatic Security Initiative, Carter said. I think we're going to learn a lot from each other. Zixthul realized that for the first time in centuries he felt something new, curiosity about the future. These humans were unlike any species he had encountered. Perhaps working with them would be more interesting than killing for credits, and, deep down, he knew one thing for certain. He never wanted to be on the wrong side of a Deathworlder again. The next morning, Zixthul and his team stood at the back of the Grand Council chamber. The room was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. At the center was the speaking platform where Alan Carter now stood, addressing the council. "Honored representatives," Carter said, his voice calm but firm. "Earth comes before you seeking full membership in the Galactic Confederacy. We offer our resources, our knowledge, and our unique perspective as a Class 12 Death World species." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many still doubted the Death World classification. Zixthul no longer did. "Before we proceed to the vote," Carter continued, "I must bring a serious matter to the Council's attention. Last night, an assassination team attempted to eliminate the Earth delegation. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Security drones moved into position around the room. "The team was hired by Councillor Vexmar of the Hegemony," Carter said, "who feared Earth's entry into the rare metals market would threaten Hegemony profits." All eyes turned to Vexmar's empty seat. The councillor had not returned to the chamber. "We have evidence," Carter continued, activating a holographic display that showed the contract, payment records, and communications between Vexmar and Zixthul. Zixthul watched the faces of the council members. Some showed outrage, others fear. A few nodded as if they had suspected such treachery all along. "The assassination team has been captured," Carter said. "In accordance with Earth traditions, we have offered them rehabilitation rather than punishment. They have agreed to help establish new security protocols for diplomatic relations." At this, the chamber fell silent. Then a tall, tentacled being rose from the High Council section. "High Councillor Zexti," the being announced. "Earth representative, are you saying you have pardoned assassins who tried to kill you?" "We have offered them a chance to use their skills for protection rather than harm," Carter replied. "On Earth, we believe that actions driven by survival do not always reflect one's true nature." Zixthul had never heard such ideas expressed. In the Council. In most Confederacy worlds, attempted assassination was met with immediate execution. "As for Councillor Vexmar," Carter continued, "we leave his fate to the Council's judgment. Earth seeks peaceful relations with all species, including the Hegemony." Another council member stood, this one a floating gas-filled creature. "The Hegemony. Representatives request a recess to discuss this matter among ourselves," it said. "Granted," said High Councillor Zexti. "We will reconvene in 1 hour." As the council members filed out, Dr. Reed approached Zixthul and his team. "Come with me," she said. "There's something you should see." She led them to a small observation deck overlooking the spaceport. Below, a massive Earth ship was docking. Unlike the sleek diplomatic vessel that had brought the Earth delegation, this one was clearly built for war. Its hull bore the scars of many battles. "The USS Defender," Reed explained. "One of our older military vessels. We brought it as a precaution." Zixthul studied the ship. Its design was unlike any he had seen before. Most Confederacy war vessels were elegant and precise. This human ship looked brutal and practical. "Why show us this?" Dracon asked. "So you understand what we chose not to use," Reed said. "Earth has fought many wars among our own people. We know the cost of violence better than most. That's why we choose diplomacy whenever possible." Murphy joined them, his eyes on the ship below. "That doesn't mean we come unprepared," he added. "The Defender carries enough firepower to level this entire spaceport. But we'd rather make friends than demonstrate that capability." Zixthul understood the message. The humans were showing both their strength and their restraint. "Your species is full of contradictions," Lithia observed. "You evolved as predators, yet you offer mercy to those who threaten you." "Perhaps that's what happens when predators develop empathy," Reed suggested. "We understand the drive to hunt to survive at any cost, but we also understand the value of cooperation." When they returned to the council chamber, the seats were filled once again. The Hegemony section had a new representative in Vexmar's place. Carter stood on the speaking platform, waiting for the final vote on Earth's membership. High Councillor Zexti rose. "Before we vote, the Hegemony wishes to address the council." The new Hegemony representative stood. "I am Councillor Nixara. The Hegemony officially condemns Vexmar's actions. We seek peaceful trade relations with Earth and all worlds. We withdraw our objection to Earth's membership. Zixthol was shocked. The hegemony never backed down. The vote proceeded quickly after that. Earth was accepted into the Confederacy by an overwhelming majority. The council chamber filled with the various sounds of hundreds of species showing approval. As the session ended, Carter approached Zixthol's team. "Now our real work begins," he said. "We need to completely redesign diplomatic security across the Confederacy. Based on what we learned from your infiltration attempt," Murphy added, "most embassies might as well leave their doors unlocked." For the next several days, Zixthol and his team worked closely with the humans. They demonstrated every trick and technique they had used to bypass security systems. The humans, in turn, showed them Earth's approach to protection. "Your species focuses on keeping threats out," Reed explained during one session. "We assume some threats will always get through, so we plan for that too." Defense in depth, Murphy called it. Multiple layers, each designed to slow down intruders until a response can be mounted. Zixthol found himself impressed by human thinking. It was both primitive and sophisticated, often solving problems in ways no other species would consider. One evening, as they finished work for the day, Carter invited Zixthol to his office. "I have a proposal for you," Carter said. "Earth is establishing its first permanent embassy here on New Arcturus. We need a security chief who understands both Confederacy protocols and their weaknesses." Zixthol stared at the human. "You want me to protect your embassy after I tried to kill you?" "Who better?" Carter smiled. "You're the best in the galaxy at what you do. And now you know exactly what humans are capable of." It was true. Zixthol had seen enough to know that humans were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered. Their combination of physical abilities, problem-solving skills, and unpredictable thinking made them formidable opponents. "What about my team?" Zixthol asked. "They'll have positions too if they want them," Carter said. Dracon's knowledge of toxins would make him an excellent medical security advisor. Lithia's skills are perfect for counterintelligence, and Quor could revolutionize our electronic security. Zixthol considered the offer. For centuries he had used his skills to end lives. Now he had a chance to protect them instead. "I accept," he said finally. Carter extended his hand, and this time Zixthol shook it without hesitation. "Welcome to the Earth Diplomatic Corps," Carter said. "I think this is the beginning of an interesting partnership." 1 year passed since Earth joined the Galactic Confederacy. Zixthol stood on the observation deck of the new Earth Embassy on New Arcturus. The building was unlike any other embassy in the diplomatic district. While most alien structures reached for the sky in delicate spires, the Earth Embassy was solid and practical. It combined beauty with strength in a way that perfectly represented humans. Zixthol watched the crowds below. As chief of security, he had transformed diplomatic protection throughout the Confederacy. His team had integrated their knowledge with human methods to create something new and effective. Lithia appeared silently beside him, her dark form barely visible even to his 4 eyes. "The delegates from the hegemony have arrived," she reported. "No weapons detected, no unusual technology." Zixthol nodded. Relations with the hegemony had improved since Vexmar's plot was exposed. The new leadership had established fair trade, agreements with Earth for rare metals. Both sides benefited. "And our special guest?" Zixthol asked. "Arriving now," Lithia replied. "Quor is monitoring all approaching vessels. Today was important. For the first time, a human ship had traveled to the far side of the galaxy and returned with new trade agreements from species the Confederacy had never contacted before. The captain of this mission was arriving for a special ceremony. Zixthol's communicator buzzed. It was Dracon. "Security sweep complete," the poison master reported. "All food and drink samples are safe for all species attending." "Good," Zixthol replied. "Join me in the main hall." The Earth Embassy's main hall was filling with representatives from dozens of worlds. Some came out of respect, others from curiosity. Earth had made a strong impression in just 1 year. Alan Carter stood at the center of the room, greeting guests. Beside him, Dr. Reed was explaining Earth culture to a group of floating gas beings. Murphy watched from a corner, his eyes constantly scanning for threats, but his posture relaxed. Zixthul approached Carter. Everything is secure. The captain's shuttle will dock in 10 minutes. Excellent, Carter smiled. Any word from our friends in the Assassin's Guild? This was their private joke. Shortly after becoming security chief, Zixthul had sent a message to all Assassin's Guilds across the galaxy. His recommendation had been simple: do not accept contracts on humans. The warning had spread quickly, especially after detailed reports of his team's capture became known. They send their regards, Zixthul replied dryly. Contract requests against humans have dropped to 0. Carter laughed. Good to know, though I suspect some will try eventually. Let them, Murphy said, joining them. We could use the practice. Soft tones sounded throughout the hall. The captain's shuttle had docked. The crowd moved toward the main doors, eager to see the hero who had expanded Confederacy influence without firing a single weapon. The doors slid open. A human woman walked in, wearing the blue uniform of Earth's exploration fleet. She moved, with the same confidence Zixthul had come to recognize in all humans from Earth. Captain Susan Mitchell, Carter announced, the first human to make contact with the species of the Outer Arm. The crowd applauded in their various ways. Mitchell nodded respectfully to the gathered representatives. Captain Mitchell will now present her report on the diplomatic mission to the Outer Arm, Carter continued. Mitchell stepped onto the speaking platform. Images appeared around her, showing strange new worlds and alien species unlike any in the known Confederacy. We encountered 12 previously unknown civilizations, she began. All have agreed to open diplomatic relations with the Confederacy. She described each new species, their cultures, and their technologies. Some were primitive by Confederacy standards, others had advances that even the oldest Confederacy members found impressive. How did you convince them all to join? Asked a representative. From a world known for its cautious diplomacy, Mitchell smiled. We didn't ask them to join. We offered to connect them, to facilitate trade and cultural exchange without requiring them to change their ways. This was not how the Confederacy usually expanded. Typically, new members had to adapt to Confederacy standards and protocols. Approach was quite effective, Mitchell continued. When species don't feel threatened, they're more willing to cooperate. Zixthul noticed how the Confederacy representatives reacted to this. Some seemed confused, others thoughtful. The humans were changing how diplomacy worked, just as they had changed security protocols. After the presentation, the reception began. Food and drinks suitable for all attending species were served. Music from Earth played softly in the background. Zixthul found himself approached by High Counselor Zexty. An impressive year for Earth, the High Counselor said. Your new security protocols have prevented 3 major diplomatic incidents already. The humans have a unique perspective, Zixthul replied. They see threats differently because their world taught them different lessons. Indeed. Zexty's tentacles moved thoughtfully. There is talk of creating a new position on the High Council, a security overseer. Your name has been suggested. Zixthul was stunned. No former assassin had ever served on the High Council. I am honored, he said carefully. But I serve Earth now. The position would serve all Confederacy worlds, including Earth, Zexty explained. Consider it. We need your experience. As the High Counselor moved away, Murphy appeared beside Zixthul. Sounds like a promotion, the human said. Planning. To leave us. Zixthul shook his head. My place is here. I have much to learn from Deathworlders still. Murphy laughed. And we from you. That's the point, isn't it? Different species, different strengths. Across the room, Captain Mitchell was describing a dangerous situation her crew had faced on an unexplored world. The aliens listened with fascination as she explained how humans had adapted to extreme conditions that would have killed most species. Will you accept the council position? Murphy asked. Zixthul considered it. Perhaps, if I can continue to work with humans. Earth would insist. On it, Murphy assured him. You've become our best ambassador to the assassin community. Later that evening, when most guests had departed, Zixthul met with his team. Dracon, Lithia, and Quor had all found purpose working with the humans. None regretted the change from killers to protectors. I received a message today, Zixthul told them. From an old client. They wanted to hire us for a job. What did you tell them? Quor asked, mandibles clicking nervously. I told them we were no longer available, Zixthul said, and I suggested they avoid any contracts involving humans. Good advice, Lithia whispered. Since meeting the humans, I've studied Earth's predators. Even their smallest creatures are remarkable. The humans have a saying, Dracon added. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Zixthul watched through the window as Earth ships moved in the night sky. A year ago, he had seen humans as easy targets. Now he understood why veteran assassins ran when Deathworlders arrived. It wasn't just their physical abilities or their technology. It was their spirit, their endless adaptability, their ability to turn enemies into allies. And as the lights of New Arcturus reflected against the Earth Embassy's strong walls, Zixthul was glad he had learned that lesson without paying the ultimate price.